Meryl hat verspreit auf den Tisch ein Tischstich, rausgestellt eine Flasche mit weißen Bromfen, eine große grüne Flasche mit Sodawasser, gläslich und Teegläser. So Meryl spread out a tablecloth on the table and she placed on it a bottle of white liquor, a large green bottle with soda water, little glasses and tea glasses. In a langen, schmollen und tiefen Teller hat sie reingelegt marinierten Hering. In a long, narrow and deep plate, she placed marinated herring, Lachs und auf einem zweiten flachen, keilig dicken Teller hat sie ausgelegt getrocknete Fischlach. And so she put out marinated herring, lachs, and on a second flat, round plate, she laid out dried little fish. Sie hat aufgestellt Wurst, bitte Gänsens und trockenem Aufschnitt. She arranged sausage, fat goose sausage, and dry sliced meat, or dry sliced sausage, frische Pomodoren und geseierte Ugerkes, and fresh tomatoes and sour cucumbers. Ein geflochten Kerbel mit gebeitelten Brot, verbräunte harte Bagel und eine große Vase mit Früchten. So she in a woven basket, she placed rye bread, brown hard bagels, and a large bowl with fruit. Meryl hat ausgestellt das Essenwerk und ausgelegt Goppelmesser mit balabatischer Genauigkeit, flink und spielewdig. Und Moritz hat bei es Meister geguckt auf ihr wuchsiger, aufgeschossener Figur. So Meryl set out this food, and she placed knives and forks with housewifely precision, skillfully and playfully. And Moritz watched her. He looked on at the same time at her lithe, Rufgeschossener. Sure. Can't think what that.
Yeah.
Tall, perhaps.
I mean, it means something that's shot up. I took it to mean tall, but
yeah, okay. Tall figure auf ihrer Achsel, und wie soll sie wiegt sich leicht und ein Fuß auf den zweiten. So looking at her lithe figure, at her shoulder, and how she moved so easily from one foot to the other. Had noch gespioniert ihr Profil und bemerkt, als ihr Ponym ist schon ein bisschen abgewelkt. So he studied her profile and he noticed that her face was a little bit withered, nor gut verschmiert, but well made up. Verpudert, powdered. Und als ihr Plätze ist etwas ausgebogen und sitzen ständig bei der Nähmaschine. And that her shoulder was slightly bent from sitting constantly at her sewing machine. Aber ihre getuckte Fies von unter ihr kurz zerklaviert Kleidel haben ihm gebriet und hat sie betracht mit einem winstigen Blick von einem alten Eingeher in freilicher Heislach. Beautiful description.
Yeah.
But her shapely feet under her short, wavy dress haben ihm gebriet. They think in this sense they aroused him. And as he looked at her with the knowing look of an old frequenter of Verenigde Huiselijk, happy brothels. Moritz had gewusst die Adressen von lustige Weiblich. Moritz knew the addresses of cheerful women, was haben gewohnt in gut zugekliebene Zimmern und pflegen dort aufnehmen Gäste. So he knew the addresses of these cheerful women who lived in well-appointed rooms, and they would entertain guests. Men hat dort gekent verbringen an Abend bei einem gedeckten Tisch und haben die Vorstellung, als man is in a home. So one could spend an evening there, and one with at a late table, and one could imagine that one was in a home. Is wenn a guter Bruder hat sich vor Moritzen geklockt auf die Zorres, was steht aus von Weib, hat es Moritz nicht verstanden. But when one of his colleagues, one of his good brothers, would complain to Moritz about the problems that his wife was presenting him, Moritz couldn't understand this. Für ein 25er warf sich ihm auf den Hals a größte Krasovitsa for 25, a note of 25, whatever, ruble. A beautiful woman would throw her arms around his neck. Wer redt noch als brengt a schmochte? Who's even talking about if you were to bring a trinket, a matona, kusht sie ihm die Fies. If she brings a trinket or a gift, she kisses his feet. Is zu was bedarf man sehr gereizt? No, sorry.
Just a line
Is
there.
zu was bedarf man a vibe und die Zorros von a vibe? So what does one need a wife and the problems that a wife brings? Blois ein Merel hat ihm mit ihr Actiones a sehr gereizt. Als bei ihm is recht gewesen mit ihr Kassen haben. It was only one Merrill who with her stubbornness provoked him that it was the right thing for him to do to marry her. Aber sie aussprechen, but only if he could tame her. Aber ihm hat sich fort nicht gelegt auf den Zeichel, but it didn't occur to him, als es seinen Verein freuen, was man kann sei nicht kaufen für Geld. He didn't imagine that there existed women who could not be bought for money. Hat jetzt geguckt auf Merrils begiftigen Guf und in Moyer hat ihm geekbert. So now he looked at Merrill's live body, and it bothered him in his mind. Is sie auf ein Emmes gewinner zu nur, oder sie hat bloß mit ihm gespielt die Komödie? So was she really a modest woman, or was she playing the fool with him? Merrill hat sich geporret rum Tisch, schweigendig und mit herabgelosten Augen ihm gegeben die Möglichkeit, sie gut zu betrachten. So Merrill was fussing around the table silently and with downcast eyes, and she gave him the opportunity to look at her, to consider her well. Plötzlich hat sie erhebgetan auf ihm ihre schwarze Augen. Suddenly, she lifted her black eyes to him mit a verschäten, oblacherischen Winkel, wie sie wollt verstanden, wegen was tracht und häusigt von sein Gelebtkeit in ihr Znies. So suddenly she lifted her black eyes with a mischievous and mocking sparkle, as if she would have understood what he was thinking about and was mocking his vanity in her modesty. For was tust du nicht aus dem Mantel und dem Hut? Why don't you take off your coat and your hat? For wemmen hast du es zugegerät und die ganze Schenk? So for whom did you prepare this whole spread? For dir hast meire, ich soll nicht versammeln, das es. I set it, prepared it for you. Aren't you afraid that I am not going to poison the food? Ich hab nicht was meire zu haben. I don't have anything to fear. Is mit ein Spann gestanden neben ihr. And with one stride, he was standing next to her. Ich weiß, dass du bist nicht ein Narr sollst sich spielen mit Feuer. I know that you are not so foolish as to play with fire. Du bist denn Feuer? Are you fire? Hat sie zweideutig gelacht und gezweifelt, ist genug Mannsbild für ihr. So, are you fire? She said ambiguously. She laughed ambiguously, and as if she doubted that he was enough of a man for her. Provoice, best to wissen. So try it out and you'll know. Hat geantwortet. Mit an gelassener Minne und ist stehen geblieben mit a schläferig gleichgültiger Zurre. So try out and you'll see, and you'll know. He answered her with a calm expression, and he remained standing with a drowsy indifference, with a drowsy, indifferent expression on his face. Aber das ist gewinn an Unstel, but this was a pretense. Ihr zweideutig Lachen hat auf ihm Spritz getan mit Funken. Her ambiguous laughter made caused like a shower of sparks in him. Moritz hat weggestellt dem Stecken, ausgetan dem Hut, dem Mantel und ist stehen geblieben in a schwarzen Anzug. So Moritz took off, he put down his stick, he took off his hat and his coat, and he remained standing in a black suit. In glanzige, lackierte mit scharfer Näs und in dem weiß-seidenen Halstuch. And he was standing in his shiny, lacquered, with sharp pointed boots, and with his silk cravat was hat nicht ausgetan. He didn't take off his cravat, wie es 40 zwischen gefronte wird blatte Jungen. So the dandily dressed young underworld men would have worn such a cravat around the neck. Hat a Skrippe getan mit die glanzendicke lackiertes Lakirkes, he made a squeaking noise with his shiny lacquered shoes, boots, und gelassen zugespannt zu Merlin. And he calmly walked over to Merrill. Sie ist gestanden, ungespart, hinter Weihnachts, mit beiden Händen auf den Rand von Tisch und ihm umgeguckt. She was standing firmly backwards at the back of the chair with both hands on its on the edge of the table, and she looked at him. Okay, Michael?
Sure. Reichers, do you smoke? Wat herausgenommen sein schwere silberne Papyrosnitzer, was ist gewähnt bei ihm zwischen seine guten Brüder. And he took out his heavy silver cigarette holder that was famous, well known among his comrades, his good brothers. It's difficult to
Sorry, Michael.
translate gute Brüder. Yeah?
I think a papyrosnitzer is a cigarette box.
Oh, okay, sure.
Cigarette case.
Cigarette case, yeah. That was well known among his Gute Brüder. Can you think of a good translation for Gute Brüder? It's like comrades, but good brothers. There must be another word for it. Das Deckel ist äußern wenig und innen wenig gewähnt besetzt mit farbiger Edelsteiner. The lid on the outside and on the inside was inlaid with colorful jewels. Give me some light. Hat sie herausgenommen ein Papyrus und noch Hals geschmeichelt, viel und zweiseitig. She took out a cigarette and continued to smile, cool and ambivalently. Eine Weile hat offen gehalten die Papyrosnitzer bei ihre Augen. For a while he held the cigarette container in front of her eyes. Sie soll bemerken die eingepasste teure Steiner, that she should notice the inlaid valuable stones. Because then as he guckte nicht auf den Deckel, seeing that she wasn't looking at the lid, hat die silberne Puschke vermacht mit a Knack. He closed the silver little box with a crack. Opgelost in Kenshina und herausgenommen Schwerlach. He put it down in his pocket and took out matches. And ongerieben an Schwerler, he lit a match, and when Merrill had verreichert, and when Merrill had drawn in the cigarette, hat durch Schwerler verloschen, he doused the match und für sich angezündet noch eins, and lit another one for himself, wie es wird sich ein echter Kavalier, as a real dandy would behave. Hat gesehen, wie Merrill los durch der Nase heraus der Räuch in den Streifflach und schweigt mit der kalten Genitschaft von einer gekäuften Frau. Okay. He saw how Merrill let the smoke out through, who let out the smoke in thin stripes and was quiet with the cold experience of a bought woman. Was wird sich Punkt also schweigendig nemen oiston rule in exactly the same way, quietly start undressing herself. Oif Moritz had geschwiegen mit der Kräumers verribbelt von him, and Moritz was also quiet with an assumed angry face, und machte Grimasse and a put on grimace von Gleichgeld in die Mäulwinkeln, Grimasse von Gleich, and a grimace of apathy in die Mäulwinkeln, in the mouth corners. Hat gedreht mit der Zunge in Mäul und rausgelost, Räuchkatteln. He turned the tongue around in his mouth and let out rings of smoke. Wie das tun die Maske as I assume the guys do. I'm not sure what Maske is.
You skipped a line.
Gedreht mit der Zunge. No, he let out a ring of smoke. He was to actioren. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. As actors do, of the Amerikaner, to mana cartoons, as the actors do in the American pictures, I assume, to mana cartoons. I don't know what it is. I assume it's moving pictures. I'm open to correction.
I think that's right. It means picture or scene. It's a Russian word.
Okay. Oh, so it's not Yiddish, actually.
Well, it's also Yiddish. It comes from Russian.
Okay.
Yeah, and tuman usually means foggy. I don't know quite what that has to do here.
Okay. Sie hat haar opgeworfen, die Maske. She is thrown off her mask, hat gedacht, she thought. After is sie früher gewesen als nur, perhaps she was modest previously. While sie hat gemeint, as sie wird reinkriegen, our Lord, because she hoped or thought that she would get someone like a Lord. Aber wenn sie hat sein, als von alle ihre Pläne ist sie geblieben bei gar nicht. But when she saw that from all her plans she was left with nothing, will sie leben a guten Tag. She'd like to have some fun, live a good life. Wird viel nicht davon Zusagen Chasten haben. You won't even have to promise her to get married. Sie will das gar nicht. She doesn't even want it. When we is what sie sit him on, and what if she's only teasing him, pulling him up? Yeah, teasing him. What ungezündeter Papyrus im Abligeton macht, the lit cigarette kind of burnt him in his mind. He had some, he had a worry there, I assume. Perhaps she's not being honest. I mean, Glee's fire caused a fire in his brain. Bist zu klug sollst nicht spielen mit fire. You are too clever that you should play with fire. Hat übergehasert sein friedlicher Drohung. He repeated his previous warning und die rechte Hand versteckt in Hosenkästner and put his right hand in his trouser pocket. Wollte dort gehabt a gelodenem revolver, as if he had a loaded revolver there. And was macht dein Mama? And how is your mother? Ich habe gehört, dass sie sehr krank. I've heard that she's very sick. But what macht Jessica Havaya, he made a favorable wave of his hand, as if she would sign good to him, that if she will be good to him, that sign good euch zu ihr Mama. He will also be good to her mother. Ja, sie ist sehr krank. Yes, she is very sick. Hat Merrill geguckt darüber seine Achsel. Merrill looked over his shoulder. Wie hinter ihm wollte sich bezeugen, an offener Weg in der Weißkeit herein, as if behind his shoulder there would stretch an open road far into the distance. Und sie ward als Emmetzerschopf und dort ihr entgegenkommen. And it was as if she was waiting that someone should come from there towards her. Die Mama wird schon lang nicht anhalten. My mother will not hold out much longer. Und sie weiß von gar nicht, and she doesn't know about anything. Hat sein ausgerasiert, zerkneitscht von ihm, sich bei ihr geschmeichelt. And he's shaved, wrinkled face, smiled angrily. Sehr als sie soll sich nicht erwissen. Make sure that she doesn't get to know. Merrill had gleich verstanden, was meant. Merrill right away understood what he meant, he implied. Und verloren dem Atem, and she lost her breath. Alle drei Töchter haben gedacht, Gott, was alte, ausgewebte Mama weiß nicht von Skandal und Sturz. All three daughters thank God that their old, ausgewebt, senile mother doesn't know about the scandal in the city, in the town. Aber Moritz kann gehen zu ihr in Moschawskeinim und Obwartnahme nicht, wenn sie kommt zurück zu den Gedanken. But Morris was quite capable of going to her in the old age home and wait for the moment when she becomes more aware. Wie das trifft mit ihr, as happens with her, when ihr alles erzählen and tell her everything. Ja, is capable as to tun. He is very able to carry that through, able to do that. I think I could pause there.
Well, I can continue then. I managed to show up.
Thank you. I thought you were off for 3 weeks, but it's
Well,
great.
I had a doctor's appointment, but it ended in time so I could come. But I will be off in the next few weeks. Okay. Du weißt, wie dein Schwager Scheike ruft dein Schwester Golde. Do you know how your brother-in-law Scheike calls your sister Golde? Hat Moritz gereichert, mit Keikelech und weiter geschmeichelt. Moritz was smoking with smoke rings, and he was smiling again. Die ziegende Fies, feet like a goat, ruft sie, is what he calls her. Scheike will von ihr weggehen. Scheike wants to separate from her. Nor ich lass ihm nicht, but I'm not letting him. Ich bin bei ihm a Gott. I'm like a god to him. Golde, was hat erzählt ihre beide Schwester, als Moritz hat aufgehört trinken? Golde, who had recounted to both of her sisters that Moritz had stopped drinking, when als lasst euch ihre Mann mehr nicht trinken, and that Moritz is no longer letting her husband drink, hat aber nicht erzählt, als ihr Mann hat gewollt von ihr weggehen. Nonetheless, had not told that her husband wanted to separate from her. Jetzt hat Merrill verstanden, für was Golde legt ein Welten. Sie soll sich zu Neuf kommen mit dem Cyrilnik. Now, Merrill understood why Golda was going to great effort, in order to be in good graces with Cyrilnik. Hat sicher a chelik in Scheikes Velena weggehen von Weib. He certainly, the Cyrilnik, certainly is taking a part in Scheike's wanting to separate from his wife. Will Golda sich versichern mit der Mann durch hereinbringen Moritzen in der Mishpacha. So Golda wants to be more certain about her own husband by bringing Moritz into the family. Ist gerecht, spielt sich mit Feuer, hat Merel getracht. He's right that I'm playing with fire, Merel thought to herself. Mit dem, auf ein Welt, kann sie nicht leben. She could not be in the same world as he, couldn't bear to live in the same place, same world as Moritz. Sie darf ihm der Langen mit der größer Scher gleichen Herzen. She ought to attack him right into his heart with her big scissors. Es ist von ihr gewinn narrisch, was sie hat ihm geheißen aufkommen. It was silly of her to ask him to come up into her place. Ob aber sie soll ihm jetzt herauswerfen, but now if she should toss him out, wird sie machen noch ärger. She would make it even worse. Äußer in Polotzgerdaien wird nach euch kommen nehmen in ihr Mammen und Schwester. Besides taking revenge against the Polotzgerdaien, he would also take a revenge against her mother and her sisters. Wird erfahren, als euch ihre Schwester sollen sie verschelten. He would cause also her sisters to curse her. Wie das tut Mistama die Rebbitzin, just as most likely the rabbi's wife is doing. Darf sie proven mit Guten. So she has to manage with, instead of with anger, with kindness. Was trachst du? Lässt aus dem Papyrus in a Tetzel. What are you thinking about? He extinguishes his cigarette in a little plate. Hat ihr Schein gegeben genug Zeit. Sie soll zerkeien, was hat ihr ungedeiht. He had given her now enough time to chew through that which he had ungedeiht, hinted at. Was ich tracht? What am I thinking? Ich tracht von die vergangenen Jahren. I'm thinking of the years in the past. Legt sie euch herein in Tetzel, ihr nit der Recherten Papyrus. She also puts into the little plate her cigarette, which was not completely smoked through. Es waren weggesach Jahren, sind wir haben sich bekannt. There have been a lot of years since we first got to know each other. And von deswegen sieht es mir aus wie erst Nächten. But nonetheless, it seems to me like it was just yesterday. Ich tracht ständig, als ein Mensch nimmt Eisen älter, der fühlt sich älter. I've always thought that a person begins to look older before he feels that he is older. Und wenn Seitige wollten ihm nicht gegeben zu fühlen sein älter, and if it weren't for the fact that folks around made him feel how old he is, wollte allein sich es der wusst später von allem. He would know it himself later than anyone else. Sie guckt him on a verumerte. She looks at him verumerte, sadly. Wie voll mit Charata, as if full of regret, was sie hat ihm so viel Jahren sich gepeinigt, that for so many years she had needlessly tortured him. Ihre Schwarzapfeln werden größer. The pupils of her eyes became larger, ungegossener, filled with tears, schwimmen über ihr Vias, and they which swim over her eyelids. Und sie atmet schwer, and she breathes deeply, heiß, hotly, wie sie wollt kein geherrscht ihre gegliedte Leidenschaft, as if she could barely control her kindled pain. In das Kapitel die Nakoma, the revenge. In die Heiche Abzassen is Merel Hecher von Moritzen. In her high shoes, Merel was taller than Moritz. When sie guckt auf ihm herab, mit einem Blick von einem Menschen, and she looks down at him with the glance of a person who steht bei einem Abgrund, who's standing next to a chasm, and is sich miashiv, and is thinking, and has decided, and is thinking, springen oder nicht springen? Should I jump or not? Mit einmal verflecht sie ihre lange Hand sein Hals. Suddenly, she weaves her long fingers around his neck, vermacht die Augen, closes her eyes, und säugt sich ein mit der Mäul in seine Lippen, and she sucks with her mouth into his lips, bis verliert den Atem, until he loses his breath. Die süße Masse von ihrer Leib, Brust, Bauchwinkeln und Knie geben in ihm a Zinton die Bluten. The sweet mass, a weight of her body, her breasts, the creases in her belly and her knees give him, make him, kindle him, and kindle the blood. Und reißt herab ihre Hand von sein Hals. He tears her hands off of his neck, verdreht sie brutal ahinter, brutally turns them backward, und rückt sie zu sich, and pulls her to himself. Merel mit wetigdig verkrimpte Mäulwinkeln und mit heruntergeloste Wies. Merel with the corners of her mouth curled in pain, and with her eyelids mid heruntergeloste. How are we going to translate that? Mid is tired. Yeah, tired.
Drooping.
Yeah, tiredly drooping. That's good. Eyelids. Tracht gich. Die Gedanken setzen in ihre Schläfen wie Hammers. She thinks quickly. Her thoughts pound in her temples like hammers. Heulen bei ihm mit Guten, kann sie bloß, wenn sie wird sich ihm abgeben. She would only be able to achieve what she wants with him by mit Guten, with kindness, when if she would give herself to him, abgeben. Wenn wird sie sich ihm abgeben, would she actually give herself to him? Wer ist sie? A Heilige? So what is she, after all? Is she a saint? Soll verfolgt werden in einem mit der Körper? Let him rot along with her body. Ja, du bist Feuer. Spielen mit dir is wie spielen mit Feuer. Yes, she says, you are like fire. To play with you is like playing with fire. Geht sie flink und geschickt sich a Glitch heraus von seiner Hand. She, with agility and ability, she slips out of his hands. Moritz bleibt stehen at Zerwackelter. Moritz remains standing at Zerwackelter, shaking back and forth. Ein Augenblick sieht sich gar nicht. For a moment, he sees nothing around himself, wie in a Nepal, as if in a fog. As a Freu hat noch nicht gehabt. He's never had such a woman. Und euch, sie, hat noch gewiss nicht gehabt dem rechten Mannsbild. And certainly she has never had the right man. Wenn sie es nicht ausgehungert, wollte sie sich nicht gekuscht so wild und Meshuggah. If she were not so hungered, she would have never kissed so wildly and crazily. Du tragst nicht kein corset und hast a Figurke von a Mädel. You're not wearing a corset, but you have the figure of a little girl. Brummt und suppet. He hums and breathes heavily. Du darfst jetzt alt sein, a Jahre 42, but you must be already 42 years old. Noch du hast nicht gehabt kein Kinder, bist du nicht kein abgenutzter. But you've never had any children, you're not used up. Gut, das ist für mir genug. Efter wird David lehnen ein bisschen, wir sind auf der Mann nicht.
Der Mann nicht meine don't remind me about my years, my age, yes. August, sie August, die sehr pitch there. She gets angry and pieszczy. It does face it, but pieszczy.
It means to give in or to pamper sometimes.
Pamper. Let's nemen a drunk brunfun. Do you want to take a drink of? I guess brunfun would be, I guess, whiskey.
Whiskey.
Yeah, whiskey. Yeah. To netzen unser Freundschaft. To I guess to cement, to seal up, I guess, our friendship. Setzt sich erop auf Stuhl und hab sich gleichsam. He sits down on a chair and kind of hops like he sits up
And
and
he gets back up. No, I think that's
hops like so yeah, gets back up. Yeah, I see. Straight over. Nee, ich trinke nicht mehr. I'm not going to drink anymore. Du weißt. Du weißt. Danke. Doch als ich aufgehört trinken und halt euch auf und trinken mein Haber, dein Goldesmann. You know that I've stopped drinking and I'm avoiding also drinking and trinken.
I'm not letting.
I'm not letting my friend. Yes, I'm not letting my friend, Goldie's husband. Oh yeah, I'm not letting my friend, Goldie's husband, drink. Mit mir mixed up. With me, you may. You'll see him to verbeißen, herring, Hirsch, und nimmt mit Propziener, reißen dem Kork und Fleisch. With me, you may. She moves to him to the she presents, I guess, moves to him all the snacks, the herring, the wurst, and takes out mit a propensier, a corkscrew, to pull out the cork from the cork from the bottle, cork from flash. Just to finish this next paragraph. As du hast gewollt mit mir nehmen a trunk von, since while you wanted to drink with me a little whiskey, hast du es doch mir gekannt sagen. You could say to me, wollte ich dich genommen in schönsten Restaurant und ganz Vilna. I would take you to the best restaurant in all of Vilna. Nehmt von ihr Hand, reißt die Flasche. He takes the bottle from her hands. Der langt mit sein Dolonia, a Frask in deck, und der Korek schießt Reus mit der Knack. Hands are with his, I guess, his palm. Dolonia, a Frask in deck, a Frask in deck, in a Frask in.
He slaps the bottom of the bottle.
Oh, a Frosk in deck. Okay, and the cork schießt. Oh, and the cork spits out from the with a little snap. Oh yeah, he uses the palm of his hand. He hits like this and the thing. And a Frosk in the top of the bottle, and the cork shoots out.
I would say deck here is most likely the bottom of the
The
bottle.
deck. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Because that's where you would hit it if you want the cork to fly out.
Yeah, it would have to be, that would make sense. That's what I would do. Yeah, that's being deck. A Frosk. Ja, gießt on a full glass of Maryland. Una drei viertel teglos. Farsi. He pours a full glass for Merrill and 3/4 glass for himself. Wie a guter Trinker geht nicht gleich a Gießereien. As a good drinker, he doesn't pour it straight away in, nor halt a Weile die Teglos in der Hand und erzählt wie die Kellner legen sie Rum im Beustellen, vielleicht reinkommen in a restaurant. As I guess as a customary, I guess, tea drinker, he doesn't give a geese he doesn't pour it straight away in, and he holds a while the tea. I'm not sure what he's pouring it into, but he's holding the.
I think he poured whiskey into a tea glass. Is I think what's happened. I don't think he poured tea.
I forgot that. Yeah, the Bronfman. I forgot we have the whiskey. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. As a good drinker, he doesn't pour it straight away, nor he holds a while the tea glass. He's holding the tea glass in the hand and tells her he's telling her as the waiter used to how the waiters used to Oistjellen. The waiters used to come around him when he enters a restaurant. Better way to translate a room im Oiststellen, basically. When he used to come into a restaurant, I guess they
to arrange themselves around him.
Yeah, I guess they like to pay attention to him. The Oiststellen around him, room him. Aber sind hat Tona Neder nicht zu trinken und erst by a Balabosta, heimische Mittogen. But since he has made a vow not to drink and by or in the presence of a Balabosta, a Jewish wife, I guess, heimische Mittogen, Hamish lunches.
Yeah, home cooked.
Home cooked. That'd be a better way to translate. Yeah, home cooked meals. He's in Restauranten Tischbot. So yeah, he made a vow not to eat.
No, so the idea is not now that he's eating lunches at someone's house, it's like Tisha B'Av in the restaurants. They're missing.
Yeah, he is in the restaurant in Tisha B'Av. Yeah. So now that he's eating there, oh, okay, yeah. It's like Tisha B'Av, yeah, because they don't have any business, yeah. And that's an Balabosh, yeah. Oh, yeah, interessant. Yeah, L'chaim, Lomer sein gesund. L'chaim, let's, to our health, I guess, let's be healthy. Unser Bronfen bulbet sich paar Melkereien in sein aufgerissener Kell. And the whiskey bubbles or pours slowly into his torn aufgerissene Kell, his
Keller's throat.
throat. Aufgerissene is irritated. I don't know, how do you?
Wide open, I'd say.
Wide open, yeah, yeah, torn, yeah, I guess it's open, it's torn open, yeah, wide open throat. Yeah, oh, they're fine. Meer trinkt euch ihr Glas all mit dem Mal und der Bonfen geht ihr abrennen von die Keradem
Gederen.
Gederam Bisco Moya. Meryl drinks totally up her little glass quickly, suddenly, and the whiskey causes it to burn inside all the way from her intestines to her head, you know. Unterhaben Zenlik. Your easy gewen nona opgeheat, ja, Einkeit fahren. Moischke Zerulnik. Und sie Zalaxi. Unterhaben 15 years, I guess, 1.5 decades, Zenlik. 15 years is she was
A nun.
a nun, and she saved her purity for Moishe Zerulnik, and she breaks out laughing. Loslagste fragt ihr mit der Vollmäuel, ungestummt mit Wurst und trockenem Bagel. What are you laughing at? He asked with a full mouth, you know, so full with Wurst and dry bagel. Ich habe die Voice geschmiert mit Pomade. I've smeared my homemade, I guess, makeup, I guess, you know, on you. Neem sie mit Breg, wenn ihr Nostikel op wischen die zerschmierte Farbe von sein Eberster Lieb. So she takes, I guess, an edge of her handkerchief, I guess, and she wipes away this smeared color on his upper lip. It's pomade. I guess we're talking about lipstick, I guess, or
Yeah, usually it means hairstyling grease,
yeah,
but that's clearly not what it is here.
it must be some type of makeup, I guess.
Yeah.
Ihr der fehlt ihr ungebeugenem Goof. He feels over his bent body und ihr kleine steife Brust and her small stiff breast, die runde meschene Keulen. Round, I guess, brass coil, spears.
Well, a coil is a piece of coal.
Coal, like, oh yeah. Trying to think of a better way to translate that. Yeah, mention. Okay, so he feels this attention somehow all over his body from her being next to him. Gieter vergrob dem Kopf in ihr Kleidel auf dem Boy. Gieter vergrob, he is like his head is buried in her dress. So reizte Haie, was setzt mitten verwachsenem Stern in Stamm oder Bäumen. like a heated up animal, wild animal, I guess, which is sitting with its with its forehead, with its head, it's staring, stuck in a tree trunk or something. He's there's a better way to translate Sarista Haya, like animal in
How about in
heat or
heat?
passion. In heat
Yeah.
or passion. I don't know how to. Yeah, it's a powerful experience for him. Ich hab lieb als Frauenzimmer ist wie stohlene Sprühschmiede. So Sprühschmiede.
Sprungina.
Sprungina. I like, or I love that a woman's room.
No, a Frauenzimmer just means a
was
woman.
A Frauenzimmer.
It just means
That
a woman.
a woman is like a steel clasp or bracket or something.
Spring.
Spring, yeah. Dieter of Diapa mitten Zung und proof sie Reus Ruf setzen zu sie auf die Knie. He gives it a Liapa. What else is Liapa, I guess a lick of some sort, I guess. And a Lapa Mitzum, okay, some type of lick, and he tries to set her up on his knee, put her on her knee. Aber sie springt auf und nimmt sich dreien iberen Stiebel mit zernommener Hand. But she jumps up and starts, turning or running around the house, the Stiebel, with zernommener Hand, with I guess synonym with her easy Voltsig, great Hasna un. How would you translate Numina?
It's wild or crazy.
Wild or crazy, yeah, because wild or crazy hands. As if sie Voltsig great Hasna und will ausproben. As if she were ready for a wedding and wants to ausproben. Sie hat noch nicht vergessen tanzen a quadrille, and wants to show or demonstrate that she still knows she has not forgotten how to dance a quadrille. Mit a Volket und valiant Kleidung bleibt sie wieder stehen bei sein Stuhl, with a waving and the Volket to her dress is, I guess, moving in I don't know a better word to say that her dress is moving.
Well, a chvalia is a wave, so waving about.
Yeah, waving about. Yeah, waving. It's moving, waving about in the air. A gladel, and she remains standing. She comes to stand at his chair. Du willst wissen, der Memes, was ich habe, nor was gelacht. You want to know the truth? Why I just laughed. And to make someone can find the truth in the next page for us. Ich habe gelacht, weil ich habe sich der Mond gekommen ist, einmal gekommen heim a Schickere. I laughed because I remembered the one time Common came home drunk. Hat mir erzählt, als hat getrunken in Schenk in einem mit dir und die Maliaras. He told me that one time he drank in the bar, the tavern, I guess, together with you and the painters, Maliaras.